Welcome to the Vibes Lab, your front row seat to the science behind VIA, the Vibes AI agentic platform making everyday brain health accessible to all. Every episode is designed to reveal insights that will enhance your cognitive health and well-being. Follow us to grab your lab key and experience limitless intelligence.
What if the exact right baseline could physically scrub toxic plaque out of your brain?
I mean, it sounds crazy, right?
It really does. Because usually when we think about music or sound, we categorize it strictly as this, emotional experience. You put on a sad song to cry, or an upbeat track to run a 5K, or maybe some ambient noise to help you fall asleep.
Right, yeah.
We tend to view audio entirely through the lens of subjective feeling.
It is a deeply ingrained perspective. I mean, we think of sound as a passenger, basically, something that comes along for the ride and maybe influences our mood, but fundamentally it just remains entertainment or like background atmosphere.
But when you step into the world of clinical neuroscience and intersect that with ancient contemplative traditions, that perspective completely shatters.
It really does.
Sound stops being an emotional preference and becomes a physical, measurable force. We are looking at a landscape where auditory input isn't just relaxing, it is structural. So, welcome to this deep dive.
Glad to be here.
If you are joining us today, our mission is to unpack an incredibly intriguing set of source notes revolving around a project called OmState.
Yeah, the Vibes AI project.
Exactly, this upcoming August album by Vibes AI, and it is doing something wildly ambitious. It's attempting to bridge the gap between millennia-old Vedic texts and cutting-edge brain research.
It's a huge undertaking.
Right. And the premise that grabbed me isn't just about feeling better. It's the proposition that specific frequencies and vocal vibrations can physically alter your brain chemistry and actually jumpstart cellular healing.
It genuinely sounds like science fiction. I get it. But what anchors this discussion is that the mechanisms we are about to explore are drawn from extremely rigorous, peer-reviewed data.
Yeah, real science.
Exactly. We are moving from sound as entertainment to sound as a biological intervention.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the entire foundation of the OmState project isn't built on a catchy melody or a chord progression or even a specific instrument.
No, not at all.
It is built on a highly specific, measurable rhythm that underlies the entire experience.
Right. So that foundational layer is the thing called gamma frequency entrainment. And on this project, it is tuned to exactly 40 hertz.
Wow.
Yeah. Every single piece of audio we are analyzing today uses this specific frequency as its absolute baseline.
40 hertz. So to use an analogy, it's kind of like the rhythm section in a band.
Oh, I like that.
But instead of the bass and drums keeping time so the guitar and the singer stay on track, this 40 hertz frequency is keeping time for your brain cells.
That is an excellent way to visualize it, honestly.
Yeah.
In neuroscience, when masses of neurons communicate with each other, they create electrical impulses, which are brain waves.
Right.
And gamma waves are the highest frequency brain waves, sitting roughly around that 40 hertz mark.
Okay.
They are heavily associated with high-level cognitive functioning. We are talking about learning, memory processing, and just intense laser-like focus.
And this is where the landmark research from the Peikow Institute for Learning and Memory at MIT completely changed the game, right?
It did. It completely shifted the paradigm.
This is the team led by Li Shuisai, correct?
Correct, yes. So they were studying mouse models of Alzheimer's disease, and they made a startling discovery long before the mice showed any outward signs of cognitive decline.
Like before they even seemed sick.
Exactly. And even before the physical plaques began forming in their brains, the researchers noticed that the mice's gamma oscillations were faltering.
Huh.
The rhythm section, returning to your analogy, was falling out of time.
The synchronization just wasn't there anymore. The beat was off.
Right. And that led to a logical but deeply profound question, which was, what if we force the rhythm back into time externally?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so in a 2016 study led by Iacarino, the team used a technique to drive the neurons in these mice specifically at 40 hertz. Not 39, not 41, exactly 40.
And what happened?
Well, doing this actually reduced the levels of amyloid beta. That's the toxic protein that famously clumps together and forms plaques in the brains of Alzheimer's patients.
Wait, let me pause you there, because this is where the mechanism gets a little hard to swallow.
Sure, yeah.
Are you telling me that just playing a low hum or flashing lights at 40 hertz actually clears physical, biological plaque out of the brain? Like, how does a sound wave clean up a protein?
It's a vital pushback, it really is, because it sounds far too simple. But the how is what makes this a true biological intervention.
Okay, I'm listening.
The 40 hertz stimulation essentially activates the brain's immune cells, which are called microglia. Think of microglia as the brain's night shift janitorial crew.
Okay, the waste management system.
Exactly. So normally in Alzheimer's disease, these microglial cells get sluggish. They basically stop cleaning up the cellular debris, and that allows the amyloid proteins to pile up into plaques.
Oh, I see.
The 40 hertz frequency acts as a specific biological trigger that tells that janitorial crew to get back to work.
That is wild.
It calms the microglia to actively engulf and clear out the toxic proteins. And this discovery led to a fully non-invasive clinical protocol called GENUS, which stands for gamma entrainment using sensory stimulation.
But obviously, a mouse brain is not a human brain.
No, it's not.
So how confident are we that this GENUS protocol actually translates to someone just putting on headphones in their living room?
Well, the translation is happening right now. The researchers didn't just stop with that first paper. A 2019 study by Martorell used combined light and sound stimulation in those mouse models and found massive reductions in both amyloid and tau pathology.
Really?
Yes, alongside actual measurable improvements in cognitive performance. As for humans, the source material notes that human trials of GENUS are currently ongoing.
Well, that's exciting.
It is. Early feasibility and pilot studies demonstrate that this daily 40 hertz sensory stimulation is safe, it's well tolerated, and crucially, it successfully induces that measurable gamma entrainment across multiple brain regions in humans with mild Alzheimer's dementia.
It's genuinely remarkable to think of an acoustic frequency doing heavy lifting inside our neurology.
It really changes how you look at sound.
It does. But what's really compelling about these source notes is that this external frequency, this 40 hertz sound acting on the brain, is only half the equation.
Right.
Because humans haven't just been sitting around waiting for MIT to invent a 40 hertz sound bed. We have been generating our own highly specific internal frequencies for thousands of years.
We have, and conceptually, this is where the research shifts from the brain down into the physical body.
Right.
We move from the passive act of listening to an external frequency to the active mechanics of generating vocal vibration.
Right, we're talking about humming and chanting, because when you hum, you aren't just making a sound that someone else hears.
No, you're literally vibrating yourself.
Exactly. You are creating a mechanical vibration that travels through your own skeletal structure and tissue. I kind of think of it like a biological sprinkler system.
Oh, how so?
Well, you hum, the system kicks on, and it opens up all the internal valves to let the blood flow freely.
That is actually spot on. And that sprinkler system has a chemical name. It's called nitric oxide.
Okay.
It is a signaling molecule, basically the gas naturally produced in our bodies, and the science connecting it to vocal vibration is incredibly robust.
What do these sources say about it?
They highlight a foundational 2002 study by Weitzberg and Lundberg. They discovered that humming produces a dramatic increase in nasal nitric oxide compared to just quietly exhaling.
Just from humming?
Just from humming. And nitric oxide is a powerful vasodilator. It relaxes the inner muscles of your blood vessels, causing them to widen.
So what does this all mean for you? Let's say you're listening right now, you're sitting at your desk, your jaw is clenched, you're stressed out about a deadline.
We've all been there.
Right. If you start humming and releasing this nitric oxide, I'm assuming this shifts you out of that classic fight or flight state. But how physical is that shift?
It is entirely physical. When you are stressed at your desk, you are in a sympathetic nervous system state.
Okay.
Your body is biologically braced for a threat. Blood vessels constrict, heart rate accelerates, and digestion shuts down.
Just from an email deadline.
Exactly. Your body doesn't know the difference. But when you hum, that massive release of nitric oxide forces the blood vessels to dilate. This sends a systemic signal to shift into a parasympathetic state, which is the rest and digest mode. It isn't just a psychological feeling of relief,
It's a physiological change.
Yes, it is a cellular command to your physiology to stand down. John B. Liu's clinical work, which is cited in the notes, shows that applying vibration directly to bone and connective tissue using tuning forks, for example, prompts this exact nitric oxide release.
And it goes way beyond just taking the edge off a stressful Tuesday.
Oh, absolutely.
The sources point to a randomized study published just this year in 2024 by Shetty and colleagues. They looked at patients who were actively recovering from surgery, and they found that a specific breathing practice called Brahmari Pranayama, which translates to be breath because of the deep humming sound it requires, combined with Om chanting, actually supported post-operative wound healing.
Which perfectly illustrates the mechanical nature of this intervention. Like, the physical vibration increases the nitric oxide.
Yeah.
The nitric oxide dramatically increases the blood flow. That enhanced blood flow delivers a much higher volume of oxygen and necessary nutrients directly to the surgical wound site.
Wow.
So it literally accelerates the physical regeneration of the tissue.
It's just wild to me. You are using your own vocal cords to accelerate cellular repair. And this brings us to the actual architecture of the OmState project itself.
Right, how they put this all together.
Exactly. What they've done is take these two distinct biological pathways, so the external 40 Hz gamma entrainment that calls in the brain's janitorial crew, and the internal vocal vibration that releases nitric oxide, and systematically layered them together.
Precisely. They are engineering an environment where both mechanisms operate simultaneously. If we look at how this is applied, the foundational layer introduces the traditional Om chant directly over that 40 Hz gamma bed.
And Om isn't just a random syllable either. From what the notes suggest, the phonetic structure of it, that deep, AUM sound, is specifically designed to maximize that physical resonance in the chest and nasal cavity.
It is highly optimized for vibration, and there is extensive clinical literature on this specific sound.
Yeah, the sources cite a 2022 randomized controlled trial by Anjana and colleagues, right?
Yes, they did. They found that a protocol combining Om chanting with yoga nidra, which is a form of deep, guided relaxation, significantly improved blood pressure and lipid profiles in patients with hypertension.
Incredible.
So by combining these elements in the track, you are engaging two independently verified inputs. The vocal pathway lowers blood pressure via nitric oxide, while the neural entrainment pathway drives those gamma oscillations in the brain.
It's essentially a biological double whammy.
It really is.
But as the project progresses, it introduces a major conceptual shift. It moves away from just a single resonant syllable and introduces complex language designed to focus the mind.
Right.
Specifically, they incorporate the Gayatri mantra. Now, the notes explain this is drawn from the Rig Veda, which is a collection of ancient Sanskrit hymns. It has been in continuous use for over 3,000 years.
That's a long time to keep a tradition going.
Yeah, and it is traditionally a request for the illumination of the intellect, like a sharpening of the mind. But I have to be the skeptic here for a second.
Please do. That's what we're here for.
The sources admit right up front that the Gayatri mantra specifically has not been subjected to the same volume of randomized clinical trials as basic Om chanting.
No, it hasn't.
So if it doesn't have that rigorous clinical backing, proving it lowers blood pressure or clears plaque, why is it being treated with the same weight? Like, are we just leaning on the mystique of a 3,000-year-old poem?
What's fascinating here is how carefully the source material handles this exact distinction.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they draw a hard, necessary line between what is peer-reviewed science and what is contemplative tradition, and they refuse to overstate the evidence.
That's refreshing.
It is. While the specific Sanskrit syllables of the Gayatri mantra lack the randomized controlled trial volume of Om, the broader scientific literature on the active focus mantra meditation is very clear.
Meaning, it's less about the specific ancient words and more about what the brain is doing while you recite them.
Exactly. When experienced meditators engage in sustained concentration practices, like repeating a complex, highly meaningful phrase over and over without letting the mind wander, studies consistently show increased gamma synchrony across the brain.
So we're back to the gamma waves.
We are. The 40 Hertz Foundation provides the proven scientific base, the Gina S effect from MIT.
Right.
But the Gayatri mantra provides centuries of contemplative architecture designed specifically to prevent the mind from wandering.
So they aren't claiming the ancient words magically cure disease?
No, not at all. They are demonstrating that the practice of focused repetition, when layered onto that 40 hertz frequency, forces the brain into a state of deep, measurable intellectual focus.
That makes total sense. You are taking this ancient tool, which was always intended to focus the intellect inward, and giving it a modern acoustic scaffolding.
That's a great way to put it.
But having established that inward intellectual focus, the sources then highlight another massive pivot in the next track.
They do.
They move away from the self entirely and introduce a practice focused purely on compassion for others. The mantra shifts to Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, which roughly translates to a wish that all beings everywhere be happy and free.
It is a radical shift in psychological intention. You are moving from illuminating your own intellect to projecting goodwill entirely outward.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because unlike the specific syllables of the Gayatri mantra, this broader category of outward-focused practice, loving kindness, and compassion meditation has an absolute mountain of clinical evidence behind it.
It does. It's incredibly well studied. The standout research cited here is a landmark longitudinal field experiment by Koch and colleagues from 2013.
Okay, what did they find?
They tracked participants who engaged in loving-kindness meditation and discovered a clear, measurable upward spiral.
A spiral of what?
The practice increased positive emotions, which, interestingly, was moderated by the participants' baseline vagal tone. But the critical finding was that engaging in the practice actually produced measurable increases in vagal tone over time.
Just to make sure we're all on the same page here, the vagus nerve is essentially the main biological information highway that connects your brain to your internal organs.
Yes, your heart, your lungs, your digestive tract.
So when we talk about vagal tone, we're talking about how efficiently that highway is operating. Right?
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, vagal tone is measured by heart rate variability. It is a highly accurate physiological marker of how well your body can bounce back from a stressful event.
Oh, high is good.
Yes, high vagal tone means your nervous system is resilient. It is heavily linked to robust social connection, superior emotional regulation, and improved cardiovascular health.
That is the part that I find so profound. The act of turning our attention completely outward.
Yeah.
Wishing happiness and freedom for strangers or even people who frustrate us doesn't just make us conceptually nicer people.
No, it goes deeper than that.
It physically registers in our own bodies as safety. It quite literally improves our own heart health to be compassionate to someone else.
It is an incredible biological feedback loop. For centuries, contemplative traditions have asked practitioners to cultivate this outward focus for spiritual reasons.
Right.
And now we have the biological correlate showing exactly why that outward focus physically fortifies the practitioner's own nervous system.
So up to this point, the entire methodology relies on language and vocalization. We have the physical vibration of Om, the inward intellectual focus of Gayatri, and the outward emotional expansion of loving kindness.
Right. It's a very clear progression.
But what if you just need to get your work done? Like you want that highly regulated, hyper-focused state, but you don't want to chant and you don't want to focus on ancient Sanskrit.
Sometimes you just have to answer emails.
Exactly. This brings us to the final piece of the puzzle on the album, which strips away the tradition and takes a purely neurological approach.
This represents the culmination of the process. It abandons the language and the mantra structure entirely.
Oh, completely.
Completely. It strips the audio environment back to just that pure 40 hertz gamma entrainment without any guided intention. It is designed purely for sustained, focused action. And to understand the mechanics of why this works, the sources point us to the work of neuroscientist Arne Dietrich.
Okay.
In 2004, Dietrich proposed something called the transient hypofrontality hypothesis.
Okay, transient hypo what? Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, I know it's a mouthful.
Transient is temporary, right?
Yes, and hypo means low or reduction.
And frontality refers to the prefrontal cortex at the front of the brain. So we're talking about a temporary dialing down of the prefrontal cortex. That's our executive function, right? The part of my brain that second-guesses the email I'm drafting or worries about what my boss thinks.
That is precisely what it is. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for self-monitoring and metacognitive evaluation.
It's the inner critic.
Exactly. It is your inner critic.
Yeah.
And from an evolutionary standpoint, running the prefrontal cortex requires a massive amount of metabolic energy.
It's exhausting.
It really is. Dietrich's hypothesis is that when athletes, musicians, or even writers enter a flow state, that highly sought-after feeling of being completely in the zone where time dilates and everything just clicks effortlessly.
Oh, I love that feeling.
We all want it. What is actually happening biologically during that state is a temporary quieting of that resource-heavy prefrontal cortex.
So your brain is basically shutting down the inner critic to save energy and let your well-practiced skills take over.
Yes. By temporarily muting the part of the brain that constantly asks, am I doing this right? Your nervous system allows automatic processing to proceed without interference.
That makes a lot of sense.
You stop the internal ping-pong match of overthinking and you just execute the task.
Wow.
This final stage of the OmState project is designed to use that 40 hertz frequency to carry the nervous system regulation you've built up. the nitric oxide, the high vagal tone, straight into your daily work.
So it's an acoustic tool aimed at helping you induce that state of transient hypofrontality on demand, but without the distraction of language.
Exactly.
It is a remarkably complete methodology when you step back and look at it. You start by mechanically regulating the body with vibration. You focus the intellect. You foster a sense of physical safety through outward compassion. And then you strip away the words entirely and ride that 40 hertz wave into deep, uninterrupted work.
It's beautifully designed.
I think this progression beautifully summarizes the overarching message of these source notes. We are not just at the mercy of our stress levels or our dwindling attention spans.
No, we're not.
We have access to tools, some forged in ancient monasteries, some discovered in a neurology lab last week, that can tangibly, structurally shift our brainwaves.
This raises an important question, though, about how modern society views and validates that ancient wisdom.
Okay.
The source material ends with a very poignant philosophical stance. It insists on keeping peer-reviewed science and contemplative traditions distinct, noting that neither serves as a substitute for the other.
That's a good point.
We don't need to force an ancient breathing practice to look like a Western pharmaceutical for it to be valid, you know?
Yeah, the quote from the notes puts it perfectly. Science is not the magic. It is simply the permission slip to trust what your body has intuitively known forever.
The chanting, the deep humming, the focused communal intention practitioners have known these actions heal and regulate the human body for millennia. The 40 hertz research, the nitric oxide pathways, the measurements of vagal tone, that is simply our modern vocabulary finally catching up. It gives us the mechanical framework to describe exactly how it works.
It is the ultimate permission slip.
Oh.
Well, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as we wrap this up. We have just spent this entire deep dive examining the incredible generative power of highly structured auditory frequencies.
Yeah, it's been fascinating.
We know that 40 hertz can clear toxic brain plaque. We know that a simple hum can release nitric oxide and accelerate cellular healing. So flip that equation.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
What is the constant, unstructured noise pollution of modern daily life doing? The endless roar of traffic, the sirens, the unpredictable pinging of 100 digital notifications every hour.
It's everywhere.
What is that chaotic frequency doing to our neurology and our cellular health without us even realizing it? If sound has the physical power to heal, sound has the physical power to harm. It really makes you realize that what you let into your ears is just as critical to your biology as what you put on your plate.
It is a vital question for anyone living in the modern age.
It really is. Well, that is it for our deep dive today. I highly encourage you to explore the source research on the OmState project, look deeper into the genus protocol from MIT, and honestly, the next time you feel your shoulders creeping up to your ears at work, just kidding, on the pause. Just try humming. It might be the best thing you do for your cells all day.